Oops, start. Okay.
So welcome back. So before we start the official part of the meeting and the welcome, are there any takeaways from those two breakout rooms? Any aha moments? Any something you learned?
We learned we all need kids to post for us.
Oh, there you go. There you go. All right.
Oh, that's cute. It's cute.
So I want to welcome everybody tonight. This is a Connect and Collaborate Achieve Chicago meeting. And Connect and Collaborate is the networking division of Achieve Systems, which we will talk about later. And I want to read our mission statement for Connect and Collaborate. We're a growing brand, growing internationally and across the nation. So our mission of Connect and Collaborate networking events, we're dedicated to creating a dynamic and inclusive platform where professionals from diverse industries and backgrounds can come together to forge meaningful connections, share innovative ideas, and collaborate on future projects. Our mission is to empower individuals and businesses by providing them with a monthly space where they can get to know each other. There's also opportunities to speak, sponsor, attend, or start your own chapter. The goal is to have 100 chapters nationwide by the end of the year. And I also run a virtual international chapter, which is the last Mondays of the month. And so with that, we're going to do some quick introductions before we have Sammy talk. But we have an opportunity to sponsor, and they get a minute and a half to talk about who they are and what they offer. So Carol, your sponsors are, and don't forget to put your information in the chat, please.
So Deb McPhee and Philip Wachniak. So we'll start with Deb. Ladies first.
Hi, thank you. My name is Deb McPhee, and I'm the founder of Salus Training Systems. And we work with small business owners in sexual harassment, domestic violence, and sexual assault. I'm an advocate and certified in all of that. And working with business owners, if you have drama in your office, it's costing you money. If you have a bully in your office, it's costing you money. Harasser in your office. If you have a woman that's suffering from domestic violence at home, you are losing money at work. So the business owner is the one that suffers the financial duress for having a drama on the staff. So we have systems in place that we work with the staff to make the drama go away. So that's what we do. Thank you.
And a great referral for you would be, who would you like to be introduced to?
I work with small business owners without an HR department. So usually once they get up to 50, 60 people and they have an HR department, they do it all in-house. I need a business owner that's wearing 10 different hats that let me take this part off from you. And now that the sexual harassment prevention training is mandated, the mindset of the people is like, oh, we did ours online, check, done. Not understanding how much money they're losing.
Oh, that's an excellent way to look at it. Thank you so much. And then our second sponsor, Phil Wachniak.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Phyllis, for the introduction. I'm recently retired, over about 2 years now. Besides our other businesses Carol and I are doing, I'm working with a health and wellness company out of Liechtenstein and Switzerland and Germany over there called Centropics. Now, everybody has their business going, but you know what? At the end of the day, are you tired, a little foggy, whatever? What's going on? Why you don't think you have all the energy you need for your business? You know, everybody's concerned about the 5G stuff, all that. How does it affect me personally, my family, health and wellness? Well, what if we could take your business and take it up a notch? So your health and wellness, you know what? We're kind of looking at that too, to expand your business, give you that edge over your competitors. So we have different products. One's called the cloud, which gets down to the molecular level in your body, changing your cells, which if anybody ever heard of the the Beamer 22-year-old technology, kind of like sitting in a big tube. Anybody ever hear the Beamer before? Get oxygen in your body and all that. Phyllis has great. Well, what they've done is taken the technology. Now you're laying on like a yoga mat. Okay, and you can go to my website and read all about the technology, all the different patents and all that. There's also an individual pendant that you can wear that helps, gets down to the earth frequencies and helps your body kind of like tap into that, regenerate itself. There's also a product you can get to protect your house and your kids living in your house and all that. Plug and play, put it in and plug it and forget it. It's got different frequency cards. Got trouble sleeping at night? Tell you this quick story and we'll end with that. We have our grandkids living with us. Okay. They were having their nightmare. Anybody has kids understands that. The nightmare terrors. Came up the next day. Didn't even know we had it. Grandpa, I slept the best I ever slept ever.
Oh,
Priceless.
great story.
So Carol and I, sometimes we leave the card in. We're both like zoning out. Go, did you take the card out? Nope, we forgot to take it out. So it does work. Let's leave you with that. My information is in the chat. Any questions, give me a call or Carol. And with that, thank you everybody for showing up tonight. And we'll turn it back over to Phyllis.
All right, so this is very exciting. So I see some great conversations going. The sponsors, those were great introductions to what you do. And so it's really important for everyone to put their information in the chat. Carol and I can save the chat. We can send it out if you like in the follow-up. And I'm going to take a screenshot of everyone, and I really encourage everyone to take a screenshot as well for two reasons, okay? The first reason is, okay, everyone smile. You know, when people do their 30-second introduction, we're going to talk about who are you, maybe where you're from, what you do, if you solve a problem, maybe not all of these, but a few of these, and what a great referral would be. And so if someone that you hear resonates with you, or you know of someone that could use their products or services, or you know that you could use their products or services, I encourage everyone to have a follow-up meeting with that person. You know, if you take a screenshot or if you save the chat, I highly encourage, Carol and I highly encourage everyone to go on to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to Instagram, to Alignable, whatever platforms you use, and connect with each other. And so I will start with Carol, because Carol does a great job. It's 30 seconds. It's to pique your interest. It's not to, you know, really go on, but it's being succinct about who you are, what you do, what problems you solve, and what a great referral would be. So someone wants to have a follow-on conversation with you. And remember, it's not necessarily the people that are in this Zoom right now. It could be the thousands of people that we all know that we're connected to. So Carol, take it away.
So hi, I'm Carol. I'm a master connector. I've got 10,000 people, relationships in my phone, and I love the people in my Rolodex because I love introducing my friends to my friends. So when you want to connect with someone, whether it's for capital, IP, it doesn't matter. I get calls all over the world asking me different questions. That's why my tagline is called Carol. Thank you.
I love it. All right. Next, well, Deb already did her introduction. David, who are you?
So my name's David Aqua Asari. As of today, I'm an author and storyteller, if you will. I write children's books to help people learn how to read English.
Oh,
I've designed my books such that they help with learning to read English and building confidence. They effectively help with communications, and they're designed to bring grandmothers back into the education of all of our children. And useful contact for me would be anyone in the school system. Oh, gotta brag, I just got my first sale to a school district today.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yay.
And thank you. And or any family members, grandmothers, I'll say, who are looking to help their kids learn how to read English.
Oh, that's awesome. And are you located in California, if I remember right? And what part
Yes,
of
I am.
California?
Southern California, Mission Viejo.
All right. And Carol Stanley, our second Carol on the call tonight. So there's two Phils, two Carols, and a bunch of other people.
Carol Vinci too.
So Carol, where are you? Oh, and a third Carol. Oh my goodness, that's the name of the night. So Carol Stanley, where in California are you located? And do your intro.
I'm in Seattle.
Okay.
I'm in the Seattle
Oh, Washington.
area. Phyllis and Carol Wachniak. It is so good to see you guys again. Oh my gosh. It's like old home. No, I'm in Seattle.
Oh, okay. You want to do your intro or your introduction? Who you are, what you do, what problems you solve, and what a great referral would be.
Yes. Carol Stanley, communication specialist. I work with singers and speakers who want to really up their game and present with effectiveness and brilliance, really. And we've been sharing on the breakouts. Something that I love to encourage people with is HAIL, H-A-I-L. H for honesty, A for authenticity, I for integrity, and L for love.
Oh,
If you come from that space, you do very well. I've been training people for 50, well, I've been on TV and on stage, etc., for 50 years and training people also. Again, I work with personalities, but my whole thing is to help you be brilliant and operate from the sweet spot of your voice, which is where your head is, your two-chambered voice, and your body. It's all three volumes. And so that's kind of, that's who I is.
all right. Thank you so much. And the echo might be on Carol. So Carol, if you want to mute. That is great. Awesome. All right. We'll see if the other Carol has an echo. Carol Vinci, we're on the Carol section.
Thank you. It's very rare that you have so many Carols in this session. I'm Carol Vinci. My product is a card deck that talks about celebrating the superpowers of ADD and ADHD. And it is designed for business owners to overcome the reluctance to bring on people in their organization who will do the things that they can't do, not because they're lazy, crazy, or stupid, but because their brain doesn't handle detail work. So I also have some recordings on YouTube, how to thrive with adult ADD and ADHD. So if you want to hear more about what I do, what I'm looking for is opportunities to speak, whether in person or virtually. I have a couple of presentations that I can do for 15 minutes, for an hour, or for a 3-hour session, talking about the 3 segments of my card deck. The first segment is symptoms of ADD and ADHD, which many people are not aware of. Another 15 with the superpowers, like being a visionary and being creative and a risk taker. And then the third segment is action. With this new information and insight, what are the appropriate steps to take to position yourself to get the recognition that you deserve for the contribution that you can make to the organization that you're part of, whether that's somebody else's business or your own. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And it's so good to see you again also. So bringing back a lot of old faces, or I'm sorry, not old faces, just people that we know before. Okay. So Daryl, another person from our past. Daryl, who are you? What do you do? Maybe what problems do you solve, and what would be a great referral?
That's a whole lot.
Choose a few of them.
So who I am is God's highest form of creation. What I do is I help people in the industry that I've been in for over 30 plus years, real estate industry. I help people by resetting their minds. I help homeowners, investors that's in trouble with their properties. I help them to reset their mind to get themselves out of the problem and situation that they're in. Any kind of way they want to, I relieve them of the debt, the situation, or just free them up all totally together. But anything that it all starts in the mind, and then it continues from there. So I am the MSI guy.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Good to see you again. All right.
My pleasure.
And Rob, I don't know if we've ever met before, but who are you? And wait, so Daryl's from Chicago area, and where are you from, Rob?
I'm also from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm from the suburbs. I'm Rob. I started a company called Virtual Time Capsule. It's a platform that allows you to send messages to somebody at a later date in the future, creating a nice nostalgic gift. And so essentially what happened was my grandfather passed away a few years ago, and as we were planning for his funeral and putting together the picture board, I realized that my younger cousins will never understand who he was or really like understand and appreciate the pictures of him. And so the stories that he used to tell me weren't represented. So I built a platform that allows you to tell your stories the way you want told for future generations. And so the cool thing about it is that, thank you, is that it applies to so many different types of people. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to learn about and understand how to make it authentic and an approach for everybody. But it can go from parents wanting to be able to kind of capture their newborn all the way through their childhood and send them back different types of messages, doing birthdays, holidays, celebrations, personal development messages, all the way up to kind of leaving a lasting legacy. Right now, we're working with nursing homes and assisted living facilities to kind of give it away to the residents so they can start capturing some of their stories and being able to preserve it for their families and stuff like that. So my grandma got diagnosed with dementia, and we've been able to kind of capture some of her stories. So not only that we have it after she passes, but then also she's been seeing her stories and herself tell her stories, and it's been a great thing for her to remember her own life in a different way. So that's one of the unique things about this type of business. And so I think anybody that would be able to want to be able to send an intentional message to somebody in the future, but then also looking for some feedback on the website. So just trying to rebuild the customer experience and make it a little bit easier and personal. So anybody who has money, anybody who wants to be able to use it and send it for different reasons, I'd love to be able to talk to them and see what they think.
God bless you. I just
That's
so appreciate what
awesome.
you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a fun journey.
Wow.
I just wanted to share quick my latest book as well. It's Born to be Awesome. And it's you can get it on Amazon or barnesandnobles.com.
Beautiful. Well, I'm here to introduce our special guest. One, she's dear to my heart. She was my first experience over in the UK with Phyllis, the first circle of association, which was really yummy. So Sammy has mentored over 70,000 change makers to build their personal and professional business brands. For more than 2 decades, Sammy knows that too many entrepreneurs are they're in paralysis of their success by not feeling good enough, worthy enough, confident enough to be visible. That is why she and her husband, Greg, developed the 1-year No Fear book series and program to guide entrepreneurs in courageously, persistently, and resiliently build successful brands that create invincible impact. And I'd love to welcome you. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, I feel so warm and gooey. It's lovely. It's so lovely to be here and to see you. I need to get into the habit now of saying, hey, y'all. I'm mastering the language. I'm mastering the language while I'm here. Thank you so much to all of you for showing up for yourselves and for each other, and for the amazing Carol and Phyllis making this all possible. Oh, gosh. Well, I'm here to make a huge difference to this planet. I know that I was born for such a time as this. I know that each and every one of you were born for such a time as this too. I know that there has never been a me or a you on this planet until this moment, and there never will be another one like you or I. We are truly exceptional, magical, awesome, invincible beings. when we choose to be. But when the chatter starts building up and the I'm not worthy enough, I'm not good enough, what if I fail? What if I get rejected? What if when I start speaking, everybody gets up and walks out, and the fear of abandonment, the fear of blah, 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 when all of that stuff starts to soak in there, then it stops us from making that impact that we were born to make. And I've been working with thousands of entrepreneurs, as Carol just said, for many years. The last 24 years, I've been in branding. I started as a branding expert, knew I wanted to do that since I was 8 years old. And it wasn't until I started to build a global business called the Brand Builders Club, which Phyllis was a member of and Carol was a member of before it became what it is now. And we built that globally. We didn't intend that, but it just seems to be that everything I build, I can't help it from going global. It's like I have an idea and I'm so passionate about it and I care so much about it. And it's like this little vision seed inside of me that God planted there. And he knew that calling on my life before I was even manifested as a physical being here. And I just know that when I water that seed and it grows, everything flourishes. It's when I start listening to this and relying on my own abilities and capabilities, that's when shizzle starts getting in the way. And so I learned a while ago that actually when I start listening to my calling and when I start putting my focus on the impact that I want to make, interestingly, the income seems to follow it. But when I put my focus on income, I tend to hold back and then I make very little impact. And as a result of that, very little income. And so I started to reverse that process. And so I say, well, okay, what if we made a choice about the what ifs we're using with ourselves every day? I just literally did a podcast a few days ago on our 1 Year No Fear podcast. Go subscribe to that because I'm putting shows up 2 or 3 times a week now. And I did a session on this, the what ifs, because having interviewed over 1,000 of the 41,000 people that responded to our survey on what is holding small business owners and entrepreneurs back, we found that there are 12 fears. All of the fears, no matter how they labeled them or what they called them, fear of public speaking, fear of being visible, fear of being seen, however they labeled them, it was all coming down to these 12 buckets. We called them the 12 buckets of fear. And ultimately, whatever fear you feel that is happening for you, it will be in one of these 12 buckets. And having then really dived into many of the people's fear being very common, the fear of public speaking or the fear of being visible, we realized that it really only comes down to 2 what ifs. There's if you imagine, the analogy that I used on the podcast a few days ago was, if you can imagine, there's the you that is stood to the left side of the stage with an audience of 1,000 people that are there just for you. They're there in the audience, they're waiting to hear you speak. And there's the you that's to the left side of the stage with your head in your hands saying, what if it all goes wrong? What if they don't like me? What if I say something and it makes an absolute fool of myself? What if they all get up and walk out on me? What if they start throwing things at me? What if they start jeering at me? What if? Versus the you that's on the right-hand side of the stage that says, let me get up there. What if this is the best thing that's ever happened to me? What if I give the best talk, the best presentation? What if I've got goosebumps now. What if I make the biggest impact of my life in this audience? What if every single soul, every single being in this audience walks away healed, touched, supported, feeling like they're not alone anymore? What if this is the very thing that I was born to do for such a time as this? And you've got these 2 what ifs. And so the first question I want to ask you is, what if are you using the most? Are you going to what if negative, or are you going to what if positive? Because that's going to make a huge difference to the ripple that your brand makes. And it was actually during lockdown, during the big C, that we recognized that so many of our Brand Builders Club members, and Brand Builders Club had started online, but it had become a very global business. We were running 34 events all around the world every single month, physical, live, in-person events. Phyllis was at some of them. Carol, I met Carol at one of them, Carol Vinci. And so, and Carol was in our New York area, and it was brilliant. But then as soon as lockdown hit, we saw the amount of panic and fear that swept its way through the whole world and brought a lot of entrepreneurs to a crashing halt. And maybe you know some of those. I know all of our clients at that time were speakers, authors, they were coaches, consultants. They got paid for showing up. They got paid to turn up. And there were several things we learned through that process. The first was that a lot of them were building a brand and they didn't know what brand they were building. The second was that they were totally in fear of rejection, and therefore the ones that did have a really good brand, they were staying silent, they were staying invisible. So they had this amazing brand and amazing product, but no one was then hearing about it because of the what ifs that they were using in their heads. And so the what if piece is something that is really important in building your brand. And I want you to just notice, what are the what ifs that come up for you mostly throughout the week? And maybe you could create yourself a little chart and have what if negative, what if positive. And every time you have a what if it goes wrong, or you have a negative feeling that's attached to one of those negative what ifs, just put a little tick in that box, so that over the next 7 days, for example, you can really catch yourself and say, you know what, my brand, even if I focus on building a brand, even if I put all of my energy and resources into going to the best designer, the best agency, and I throw everything I've got into this, but then you stay invisible, you've just wasted all of your time and your resources, your time, money, and energy. And we found that happening with our Brand Builders Club members. And so we closed Brand Builders Club at the beginning of lockdown, because we didn't want to. We talked about authenticity and how do we show up. We didn't want to be responsible for taking people's money and them still not going out and building that brand. And so we had to get behind, what was it that was stopping them then? Even the best brands were not getting out there, but there were others that didn't have quite so strong brands, and they were getting really visible and they were getting all the money. They were getting all the clients. So, oh, thanks, Phyllis. So what we did was we started to look at what is the ROI. You might want to write that down, the ROI, which to most of us, certainly in business, we think of return on investment when we think of ROI, right? Well, I want you to change those 3 words. Instead of the return on investment, I want you to change it to ripple of impact, because your return on investment is going to come from the ripple of impact that you make. So we launched Global Ripple Makers, which was One Drop Movement. We launched Global Ripple Makers, and that taught us a huge amount about, okay, isn't it interesting when we focus on ripple of impact instead of return on investment? Now it seems the brakes are off. It seems like everybody wants to help someone. And whilst you're in the process of helping someone, your brand is building naturally. But while you're in the process of how much can I make? How much can I get? How many clients do I need so that I can pay this, afford this, build that? When we start to get into that, I don't know if you've noticed that in yourself, but there's a feeling, there's a visceral feeling that happens inside when you think of one versus the other. And so I want you to think about what kind of brand you are building. And have you been so focused on the return on investment that you've been missing the ripple of impact that you have the possibility to make? So let's talk about making that ripple of impact. There's a process that I work with my clients on, which is called the 5 brand promises. Carol has just been going through the 5 brand promises. So I expect you to be an excellent student tonight, Carol Vinci. And these promises really help you to be very clear. So when Phyllis said you've got 30 seconds each to, share what you do, I didn't hear any of these brand promises in those. I mean, it was great. I made loads of notes as you were talking, but it would have made it so much easier for me to refer you if you had these 5 brand promises in place. And I thought this would be something really good for you all to work on tonight, because you're all networking, you're all wanting to get out there and create a bigger ripple of impact, and to be the most visible, credible, trusted change maker in your industry. I am assuming that that's what you want. You want to be a change maker. Everyone here is a change maker. You're all here to create change. So there are 5 brand promises, and let me just go grab the document, because it's really important that when you have these 5 brand promises in place, it makes it so easy for you to pitch your product, your service, so whatever it is that you're building this around. It makes it super, super easy for you to be able to do that. So, and what I'll do is I'll share this in the Zoom if I'm able to. Otherwise, I'll give it to Carol or Phyllis and they can share it with you. But ladies, do I have permission to be able to share my screen? Can I do that? Oh yeah, it looks like I can. Oh, and by the way, how long have I got? How long have we got to change the world in like 3 minutes?
You have 30 minute slot.
So like 15 more minutes.
15 more minutes. All right. Okay, we're going to go fast. Are you ready? Are you
Yes.
awake? Are you all awake?
Yeah. We're all muted to be respectful.
Right. Okay. So the 5 brand promises. So we're going to start with your passion promise. Your product promise follows that, your people promise, your partner promise, and your philanthropic promise. So these are the 5 promises. The first promise is the one that you are going to share the most, because that is your vision. That is what you're building and who you're building it for. What we want to do when we create a passion promise is to create something that is memorable, repeatable, and shareable. And I want you to write those things down. Memorable, repeatable, and shareable. They're the 3 things. You cannot build a brand without those 3 things. You can try, but a brand is what other people say it is when you're not there. So if you're not leading it, then you're losing it, because people could be saying all kinds of stuff about your business that you wouldn't want it to be said in that way. So this is how you lead your brand. This is how you lead and succeed with a brand. So let's look at your first promise, your passion promise. So here's an example of ours. So our passion promise, this is specifically for our Invincible Impact program. I haven't done this. I'm not showing you this for the business, because this is the program that we're focused on getting out to as many entrepreneurs as we can. So our passion promise for this program is that it's the world's most supportive brand leadership program for mission-driven entrepreneurs. So what is it and who is it for? It's a brand leadership program for mission-driven entrepreneurs, not just any entrepreneur. I don't care about every entrepreneur, but I care about the mission-driven ones. I care about the crazy ones, the mad ones, the making a difference ones. I care about the ones that, like me, who care more about the impact they're making than the income that they're driven by. Because if money is their God, then that's not a God I want to follow. I want to be surrounded by people that care about making an impact and making a difference, like David, creating a literacy program for children to help them to learn English. And that, I mean, that's a global vision. That is a global, like that excites me. That's the kind of person I want to work with. Somebody, you know, like we were talking earlier about the amazing idea. I want people to get that message from beyond the grave. How awesome is that? That is a global idea. It's, you know, yeah, I like working with local change makers. We call them ripple makers. Ripple makers want to create a local impact, but the global mission, the creating a global impact, that's where my heart really, really starts to ignite. So where does your heart start to ignite? Who is it that you want to work with? Because, you know, David, you could say, I want to work with all grandparents, or you could say, I want to work with purpose-driven, mission-driven, change-making grandparents, the kind of grandparent that cares about legacy, because I know a lot of grandparents that couldn't give a monkey's chuff about legacy. So who is it specifically you might want to, like I have, create a personality for your brand. So the personality for our brand is mission driven. We are mission driven change makers. So it could come down to the personality of the profile. It doesn't have to necessarily be women over 50. It might be the personality of those women over 50. So that's your passion promise, is ultimately what are you building and who are you building it for? So think about the thing that you want to sell and do this around that. So you'll start it with the name of your product or program, and then what is it? Is it Chicago's most, the world's most? Is it Europe's most? Is it your local area's most? But be the most something, will you please? Like, don't be an also ran that, you know, nobody remembers who came second. They only remember who came first, who won the gold. They're the ones that get celebrated. They're the ones that get remembered. So please be the most something. So think about, what is your promise? And this really is a promise. It's like a guarantee. If I say that I'm going to build the world's most supportive brand leadership program, I better bloody stand behind that and build a business that can walk, talk, eat, sleep that particular mission, because it doesn't align, does it? Phyllis asked about authenticity in building a brand. If you're going to build an authentic brand, then create the vision for it, and then go for it. Create it. You might not have it on day one, but if you're walking, talking, living and breathing in that energy, and you say, yeah, I am going to be the world's most this, or Chicago's most this, just be the most something. So that's the first promise for you to think about. The second promise is your product promise. So what is the promise that when your client or your investor or your consumer invests in this program, how are you going to deliver on your promise? We hold your hand as you build your brand. We run over 50 small business online masterminds every single month. We run 2 masterminds every single day. And it's run by an incredible team, including my husband and myself. We've got a team of, I think it's 12 or 13 now. And it's just phenomenal. And between us, we run sessions all throughout the month to hold your hand as you build your brand. Phyllis asked, what problem do you solve? We believe we solve 2 problems. Loneliness, because loneliness in business is a killer. And I unfortunately know of too many suicides of small business owners who just couldn't face it on their own anymore. So we're solving the problem big time of suicide, and we support an incredible mental health charity. We give a lot of our profit splits. We give all kinds of stuff. We run challenges. We do all kinds of things so we can raise money for this charity every single month. And so those small business masterminds, we're curing loneliness, but we also cure what we call brandalism, because brandalism is 2 things. You might want to write these down. Brandalism is when you never say the same thing about your business when someone asks you what you do, because it's all over the place and you haven't got your message right. So that's brandalism. But also the worst form of brandalism is when you work really hard to educate your dream clients about what they need, and then they go buy it from somewhere else. That's massive brandalism. And that will be because there's not enough trust and certainty around your business and around your brand. We're doing a whole sprint this week with our members, which is all on how do you create a message that can build a real heartbeat and trust and credibility with all the people that you want to serve in the same way that you could talk to them from a human to human place, and that you're not creating something one to many, you're creating something that's one to one many times as a message. So our promise is we hold your hand as you build your brand. What is your promise? Because if you've said in your passion promise that you're building the world's most or the UK's most or the whatever's most program, well, you've got to be able to deliver on that promise somehow. So your product promise is either your product, your service, or your book. So with your passion promise, you'll need to create a passion promise for your book. So what is your book? What is your service? What is your webinar, right? So the passion promise, you're going to need all 5 of these promises for everything that you create, not just for your business, but for everything you create. So you've got your passion promise, which is what are you building and who are you building it for? You've got your product promise, which is how you're going to deliver on that promise. And you should be able to say these in exactly how we've done it here. You see how short that is? That takes 10 seconds or less to say. This takes about 5 seconds to say. If you can't tell somebody what you do and how you do it in 10 to 15 seconds or less, then you don't know your business well enough. And that's what we found with Brand Builders Club. There were all these people that were building brands and we were meeting all the time and running all these events. But when it really came down to it, they couldn't say what they do in 1 sentence. And you really should be able to. And if we're going to take responsibility for the brand that we're building, then we better get clear about this so it's easy for people to remember and easy to share, because that's when you have a brand. Otherwise, you've just got a nice logo and a website and a business card, but nobody's talking about your brand consistently in the way that you want to lead it. And if you're not leading it, you're losing it. Let's move on to your people promise, because I've got to give you this in 15 minutes. So hopefully there'll be a replay and I'll give you this worksheet so you can also do this yourself at home. So your next promise is your people promise. And this promise is to the people that are buying that product program, or the people that are attending the webinar or reading the book. The people promise is how are you going to deliver on the promise that you've made? So we hold your hand as you build your brand is our ultimate promise. Well, how do we deliver on that promise? Well, this is how. Because everything we do is about delivering high quality, instantly actionable. We don't want people to be earning money at the end of our 12-month program. We want them earning money within the first 30 days. We want the money they've invested to be part of the program to be far outweighed with the income that's coming in, because they're already making invincible impact within that first 30 days. How do we do that? Well, everything is high quality. It's instantly actionable. It's step by step so that nobody gets left behind. And we provide accessible support from wherever you are. You can join in from wherever you are because the whole thing is delivered on Zoom. So it's a very live program. So think about yours. Like David, you'll need to think about this with your book series. What is the promise to your people? How are you going to make it so easy for them that it's a no-brainer to sign up with you, or it's a no-brainer to buy your book? It's a no-brainer to sign up for your webinar, for your masterclass, for your doula service. It's a no-brainer. And it doesn't matter what it is you're selling. These 5 promises make all the difference in whether they're attracted to you or repelled from you. And think about how much distraction and distortion and deletion we go through every single day with social media, for example. We're like, somebody posts something not relevant to me, you keep scrolling. So, someone else posts something, oh, that's relevant to me, I'll look at that. And then an ad pops up. Now that's interruption. Now I'm distracted. Now I've got that, right? So we're dealing with those things all the time. And you want to make sure that your brand is not one that they are distracted from. And if it is compelling and they trust it, then they're not going to rebel against it or go somewhere else. Let's go to your 4th promise. This is your partner promise. Now, the partner promise is based on whatever your product or service is. So, for example, we were coming up with a partner promise on one of the masterminds today for one of our clients who has an intellectual property business. So her partner promise is totally different to mine, because mine's all about my members and helping my members to get visibility. So my partner promise is all about, look, come through our personal branding program to become invincible in the impact that you're making, to build an invincible brand, an invincible credibility around your brand and you. But at the same time, once you've created all your message, the first module everybody goes through on our 12-step program is mastering the message. And so many people think they've got their message mastered, and within this one module, they've completely changed it. You know, marketers, PR companies that have come through this process, they're changing it. So even the experts that already do this for a living for other people, they're coming and changing it. And it's really fascinating. And you know, what's really interesting is once you've gone through that process, by the end of that first month, we can start getting you ready to interview for our Ripple Makers podcast, our 1 Year No Fear podcast, getting you in front of over 70,000 of the entrepreneurs and business owners that, I mean, it's way over that because that's just our email list. I mean, not including all of our social media presence. And I've got nearly 6,000 members in one of my programs. So, you know, there's a lot of exposure, and we are committed that when you go through our process, when your message is ready, we want you getting out there to all the people that we serve. And so what's your promise with your product? So with Celeste's that we were working on earlier in the mastermind, because hers is all about intellectual property, I said, well, why don't you make your promise about we partner with you to make sure that your process is as easy as possible, because we take all of the pressure off of you. So it could be, if you have a service like Celeste has a service, that it's not about getting them out to your list of however many people, because that's not the promise, is it? If that's not what your business does, that's what our business does. But if it's not what your business does, you've got to think about, okay, what would be the most valuable thing to my client that would help them to feel like we're partnering, like they're not just coming to you to buy a service from you and there's no relationship. How can you let them feel that there's a relationship here that you really care about, and that you're partnering with them to achieve the results that they want to create in their life or their business, their health, their wealth, mindset, whatever it is that you do. So your partner promise is directly related to the result that your client wants. And your final promise is your philanthropic promise. What are you committed to doing that gives back and pays forward? This is a thing that I think is so important, because just imagine for 1 minute with me now that somebody is looking to work with someone with your exact skills, expertise, wisdom, whatever you've created. They are hungry for it. And let's just imagine that there's another 2 people in the world that say they also do the same thing, even though you know that you're the best. This person who's never heard of you, and they've just found you online, or they've been referred to you, there's you and there's 2 others. So there's these 2 others that they provide a service and it all looks very good. But then there's you who does all of those things, but that also there's a certain percentage that goes to a particular charity, or there's something that you do that gives back, or that your company, you know, create social change on some level. Like you're really doing something that when they invest in you, a ripple is made, not just for them, but for someone else. Now, we partnered with Paul Dunn at B1G1, Phyllis has met them, who have an amazing charitable business. They have over 600 different charities that they work with. They've selected them very carefully. You pay a monthly fee to B1G1 to cover all of their costs of running this business, but then 100% of what you give to the causes, so you pick the causes within that, 100% of that goes to the actual cause. I would choose causes that are really relevant to what you sell or your program. All of ours is really about visibility. So we tend to support programs that give eye cataract operations and increase visibility, and we pay for children's education for a year. The last 2 years, we invested our profit into building an orphanage in South Africa. One of our members launched an orphanage in South Africa through lockdown, and we supported with building out that orphanage and paying for a minibus for the kids, and you know, helping them with their education, buying all their school equipment, their school uniforms, their clothes, their food, their, like, just everything. We ran events, we did all kinds of stuff. Some of you will have been on those events and contributed to that, and that got paid forward. So you know, it's different for certain businesses. Like 100% of our 1 year no fear book, 100% of the proceeds from this book, they all get paid forward to the charity I mentioned earlier, which is a beautiful charity that has saved, they believe, from their research so far, has saved over 2 million lives. And I just love how they do what they do, and they make it so easily accessible. And I love even more that many of the people that they support are business owners that are really going through some tough times, and they've created a text-based mental health support service that means if somebody can't, they're not in a mental or emotional position to speak out what's happening. Some people think that if they speak it, my gosh, you know, that's kind of final, they're speaking it into existence. Some people, they just want to text it, they just want to get it out of their mind or out of their body and do that. And so they've saved over 2 million lives since they launched this charity back in 2019. And so, you know, we support charities like that. So what philanthropic promise are you making? What are you going to do? What's the ripple effect going to be as a result of the impact you're making? Because that's very compelling to someone. If they're looking at you and somebody else's service, and yet when they sign up with you, something happens, a ripple happens. You know, that, and especially with B1G1, the great thing is you can track all of your impacts. So we can say that for every member that signs up to the Invincible Impact Program, this happens, and this happens. So just by signing up, you've already made a difference to about 100 lives already, just by investing in this program instead of another program. So think about your 5 brand promises, and I'll put this document, if I can, up into the, oh, it won't let me. Carol, if I message this to you right now, maybe you could just upload it into the chat for me.
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll send a follow-up email as well, and we can attach it to it.
Awesome. Well, I've just sent it on Facebook Messenger to Carol. But, you know, I just implore you, work out what your what ifs are. Are your what ifs getting in the way of the impact that you could be making? Because you could build the best brand in the world, but if nobody knows it's there, then you've just wasted your time, God's time. You've wasted a huge amount of life force. And you know that you're better than that. You know you were made to make a difference. You were born to make a difference, or you wouldn't be here. And the second thing is to just make sure that you run through your, at least do, I mean, this, I've really chunked this up. This is a whole day of training, usually, of working on usually we'd be brainstorming and masterminding, and like Carol's been through that process. You know, it's like a 2-day mastermind called Master Your Message. We run them every 3 months, and we work on these promises. So, you know, it's usually 2 days it takes to do those. So we've done it in 15 minutes, but you know, just get those promises. And once you get those promises in place, you can create your landing page from them. You could put it in your bio. You could tell everybody about it. Hey, you know, what I'm looking for is this. Here's my promises. Here's the kind of person I'm making that promise to. Now, who do you know that needs that? And it makes it so much easier for you to pitch.
Yeah.
And so I will leave you on this note. I don't know if you're making time for questions or anything like that, but personally, for me, what, like Carol said, I'd love speaking opportunities. If you know anybody else that needs to hear this message or to work on their brand and to get over themselves and start leading, get over the fear that's trapping them. I mean, this is such an incredible book. It took 6 years to write this book. This is my 10th book, and this was the hardest one of all of them, because of the amount of research, everything that we've poured into here. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that's gone into that. So please encourage people to buy the 1 Year No Fear book. If you know an entrepreneur who's ready to grow, but they don't want to do it on their own, we run over 50 small business online masterminds every single month. There'll be a way that we can support and make sure that they are never lost and lonely on their own again as they go on this journey. So I hope that's been helpful for you. And if you've got any questions, I don't know if there's time for that, but I'll hand it back to these phenomenal ladies. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? That was so awesome, Sammy.
Good.
And
Go ahead.
oh, sorry. Did you put your website in there, how people can get in touch with you. I'm assuming the book's available on Amazon.
Yeah, but if you go through, if you go to, let me put it in here.
Yes.
1yearnofearbook.com. If you go through that, we've got an online resource that we created just for the book. The reason for the book, just so you know, was because one of our members in Calgary, Canada, his own life, and we feel like we could have supported in a better way, but we didn't know what he was going through. He didn't talk to any of us about what was happening, and it wasn't until he, did that final thing that we realized there was even an issue, and we thought we need to get to as many small business entrepreneurs as we can before they even think about this being an option. And so what we did was, we have people that invest to come in our programs, but for people who can't afford to do that, we, if they buy the book, which you can get even as a Kindle for however much that is, not a lot, you get a whole online program as well. My husband and I have created loads of resources that are in the resource hub that come with the book. And so, for example, if you're going into a fear of failure, go into the resource, go find the audio on fear of failure. And for the next 10 minutes, you are going to have me pouring all of myself into you to get you over that. I'm going to pour so much love into your ears, into your heart, and I'm going to build you up so much and help you to remember who you actually are, to the point that you are like this big and you can't wait to get out there and make that impact. It's the same if the fear of success comes up, or the fear of judgment, fear of not knowing enough, fear of not being enough, fear of not being worthy enough. Any of those things come up, there's the 12 fears. I've created an audio for every single one of those. So there's a lot of hours worth of support in there. There's also some masterclasses on how to charge what you're worth. There's a whole bunch of materials and things that are in questionnaires in here as well for each fear. And we've had people that have gone through those that have said, oh, I think my fear is this, this, and this. And then they've gone through it, and it's like a 0 out of 10, 1 out of 10, 0 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 0 out of 10, 1 out of 10. And it's like, oh, there it is. There it is. There's that sneaky little brick of fear that's just like those, if you've ever trodden on a Lego brick.
Yeah.
It's very uncomfortable. And that's what these lurking little fears are doing. You might not even know it's there, but when you know it's there, when you're aware of it, you can take care of it. And usually it's something completely irrational that happened when you were 3 or 4 or something. But you know what? Guess what? If that 3-year-old is running your business, you are screwed. So you've got to find out what it is that's holding you back, because once you know what's holding you back, then you can start running your business. The you version that you are now, with all your knowledge and wisdom, the incredible brand, all of the credibility that you've already built that you're now leveraging, all of that credibility is your asset. And now you can start really leveraging it. So, I'd love that as well, Carol. So, guys, if you know somebody that is lost or lonely and they're in business and you think that we might be able to help, I'd really appreciate you introducing them to us. And I've put all my details in there.
Awesome. Carol, did you want to ask something before I do the close?
So I would like some feedback. Everybody take a snippet of what you just experienced, because what we just shared was an experience with Sammy. And I'm just going to call your names out. Carol Vinci, what was your experience tonight?
Had to find the mute button. Well, one of the things that I realized in working with Sammy through this program was I'm also dyslexic, and I had labeled myself stupid in first grade because I can't do phonics. And I carried that with me until maybe the last 4 or 5 months. And what I was able to turn that around to, because in first grade, the teacher wanted somebody to be a class monitor. And I raised my hand immediately, marched to the front of the class, and then realized they couldn't do phonics. So I carried this stupid thing with me when instead I was told by some people who worked for me that I was intimidating my colleagues, because I clearly wasn't stupid. But I was able to turn that around and say that was an exhibition of leadership. Because in first grade, I was able to raise my hand to take a role of authority. And just that twist helped tremendously from being a negative to focusing on the positive. And I have consistently exhibited that behavior through my life. I'm always volunteering for the most challenging project. So that's the way that this process has helped me personally.
That's amazing.
Well, you've been one of our long-term members for about 3 years now, isn't it? Maybe more.
That's how
Yeah, I
we
think you
met.
were in Brand Builders when Phyllis was in when
Yes.
it was Brand Builders.
Yes.
Carol and I were in groups together. I remember, Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You and I were-
I always say it's not instant soup, and it does take time, and you have to be patient and persistent. Not necessarily my skill set.
Right. Rob, what about you? What was some of your experience today?
Yeah. So I really liked how you broke it down into the 5 categories and then really described it all. Really tried to be consistent across the with your messaging, your kind of feeling and emotion, as well as what people think about you. It's one thing that you think that you're presenting yourself in a way, but then it's a completely different perspective when somebody else is viewing you from the outside. So you want to make sure that everything is congruent all the way around. And then really just trying to hone in and simplify your message so that when you figure out your target market, then you can be able to actually speak right to them instead of kind of going through one ear and out the other. So definitely took a lot of notes and learned a lot, but those would be my big takeaways.
Awesome.
Awesome, well done.
David, what was your experience tonight?
Yes, I'd suggest that I think I just went to 2-day training in 15 minutes.
Here's the fire hose, get ready.
Yeah, it was wonderful. All 5 points that you brought up were spot on, and I think it was presented in a way that I could relate to, and that's what I did appreciate about your presentation.
Thank you.
Carol Stanley.
Sammy, what do I say? You are so lovely, and you definitely exhibit, the hail that I talked about earlier. I love it, and I love so much of our work tends to overlap a little bit, but I loved what you were doing. It was again the 5 areas, brilliant, really good. So thank you.
Deb.
The one word I got was inclusion, because, when I left corporate America, I had my assistant right outside my office. I had these from here, whatever you needed, you walked out of the hall and you said, hey, does anyone know, can somebody write? And now I just sit in bedroom 3 by myself saying, what's next? How do I do this? How do I move to the next level? How do I, how? And yeah, it's just like a lot of information in 15 minutes. Thank you. I can't wait to connect with you next week.
I'd love that.
Jeff, I know you joined us a little bit, but were there some tidbits that you were able to capture? And this is somebody you should know, Sammy, too. Jeff's got a TV show. Why don't you introduce yourself real quick as well?
And it's recorded.
Yes.
Oh, good. Cool. Yeah, thank you, Sammy. That was good. I did get here late. Sorry, that was another meeting I had ran over, so I fully intended to be here and it just ran into it. So but yeah, what I wrote, what I was able to write down, because if I don't write it down, it doesn't stick.
I'm the
But
same.
I did write down some of the brandalism stuff that you were talking about. That was kind of cool. I'd never heard that word before. That was that was like, I could hear other business owners I know like punching themselves in the face about that. Like, like is it, so that was good. I've never heard it put quite like that. So that was pretty cool. And yes, I would absolutely, I think it would be cool to do a one-on-one call with you. That'd be really
I'd love
cool.
that.
So I wasn't sure if I should put my
Yes,
contact
please.
info in
Yes,
there or
please.
anything.
Yes.
So I didn't yet because I wasn't sure if that
And
was
who
like
are you, Jeff? Just tell everyone who you are, what you do, and who you're looking to connect with.
Oh yeah. Okay. So my name is Jeff Pearson. I am a TV host on E360 TV. My show is called Invisible Condition, and we talk to individuals that are living and thriving despite being not always born with, but living with conditions that you can't see from the outside, and organizations and companies from around the world that are helping that population live better lives. And we have them on the show. We have one guest per show. We're on twice a week on E360 TV. And so, yeah, I would love to talk to anybody that knows somebody that'd be a good guest, know somebody that would maybe want to get the word out about what they're doing through advertising on the show, or anybody that happens to know this guy from the Partridge Family named Danny Bonaducci. I got a good connection with him. I think I got another good one, Phyllis, by the way, today. So another good, it's like we're so close. I'm excited. This is good. But yeah, if anybody knows Danny Bonaducci, he was diagnosed about 6 months ago with what I was born with, which is called hydrocephalus. So he, after a year of not being able to figure it out, he finally got diagnosed. So I really want to connect with him and help him out in any way I possibly can. So that if anybody has any connections, it's always, we're 6 degrees of separation away from anybody, right? Come on,
Absolutely.
probably more like 3. So somebody's got to know this guy. So
So put all your information and also the address for the TV show.
I will. Yeah,
That'd be great.
I will do that right now.
Daryl, are you still with us?
Yes, most definitely. My light just went out. I was trying to fix it, but I'm still here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but I mean, what I got from Sammy's talk is I most definitely need someone else to do it for me. That's not my field. I love what I do and I do what I love. That keeps me loving to do it. That's my impact.
Thank you. And honey, do you want to say any last words?
Yeah, Sammy, really enjoyed your talk tonight. It's always nice. Carol and I are always looking to learn, and a lot of good, everybody what they shared tonight. But for me, it's another quiver in my, another tool in the toolbox, another arrow in the, in the what do you call it, with arrows are stored in the quiver there for another resource available. Through contacts. Because Carol has a lot of contacts, and we're going to meet people that maybe I can't help them, but you can. And I look at it that way too. You're going to meet people that that you can't help, but you know what? I know Phil and Carol, and you know what? Together we make it win-win for everybody that can help them, whether it be expand their business, grow, health, wealth, suicide stuff, disease, health issues, whatever. So I enjoyed the talk. Look forward to listening to some of your tapes, and another arrow in the quiver. I think Carol's known you for a long time. Since I'm retired now, I finally get to start meeting some of the people she knows. She's been inviting me for years. But when you get up at 4 a.m, you work your 10 hours, you get home, and it's 20 below outside. You want to get on a call and meet somebody? You go like, yeah, no, not happening. So, I was in the airline industry for over almost 40 years. You work outside from 100 degrees above to 100 below. So, interesting work, a lot of cool stuff technology wise. And, people be surprised. I was just talking to someone at the gym today, and he goes, "Hey, Phil," he said, "Yeah," I said, "I know you were an aircraft mechanic. What about this door stuff on the Max?" So I was telling him, where I got a lot of my experience was also, working in the field, but also being an inspector. Because you get to look at the whole airplane within like a week, doing all the different inspections that are done, on a plane, and really learned a lot on that, and also building up the confidence with that. So what I took tonight was, again, another arrow on my quiver. So I've got, you know what? You can reach out somewhere else for information and help. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to share also because unbelievable, Sammy. And, I rebranded myself post-pandemic, totally different from when you saw me last time. And I need to go back to those 5 steps. And I wrote down a bunch of notes. And one of the books that I hold near and dear to my heart that I just grabbed from my bookshelf.
Oh my God. Blast from the past. My very first book.
Yes.
Wow. The 7 reasons why customers don't choose you and how you can change that.
Yes.
Yes. And so, but Sammy, I need to plug back into what you're doing because I haven't since Brand Builders. So, and I need to go back through those steps because he's not kidding. It's step by step. 80% of the people need you to tell you how to do it. And 20% can figure it out. Like someone already said here, I need someone to do it for me. Sammy offers that. So I'm super excited to learn about plugging back in.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to jump in as well. And we also have a great affiliate program as well. So when you can earn as you learn and refer. So I've put my calendar link if anyone wants to book a call to talk about either collaboration or you want to brainstorm your 5 brand promises. My calendar link's in the chat.
So just to let everybody know, we've recorded this evening and the recording will be on the achievechicago.com website for the rest of the year.
Oh, awesome. So that's a perfect lead in. So we mentioned in the beginning that Connect and Collaborate is a division of Achieve Systems. So Achieve Systems is an elite by invitation only organization for entrepreneurs, small business owners, speakers, and authors. And it's for anyone who wants to start a business, build a business, scale a business, or sustain a business. It's systems, templates, experts, revenue streams, and a growing community of thousands. And so for those that Carol invited that have never heard of Achieve Systems, we would love to hop on a call and tell you more. And this is a monthly meeting. This is virtual in the winter, live in the summer, so we don't experience any whiteouts in Chicago. And the next meeting is going to be, it's always the second Monday of the month at 6 p.m. Central. And it'll be virtual. So Carol will get that. I think the information's already up there. So again, you go to achievechicago.com and she's got many months out. And what Carol and I are going to do is in the next day or two, we'll send a follow-up email. We will attach the PDF and everyone's information. Does anyone object to us sending out an email with the chat in it?
No, it's fine.
All right. Well, we can't wait to see you next month. And Sammy, I will be in touch because I do run an international meeting virtually. And in a few months, I'd love to have you speak on that. And the interesting thing is we just had a big leader training a few weeks ago. And I was adamant about adding a philanthropic component to all our live meetings. So starting in the next few months, I think it's really important. There's lots of networking groups out there, but we want to be known as the networking organization that stands behind various causes or will stand behind a cause of one of our speakers. So that was another huge takeaway. So thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. What a great group and great speaker. And I hope you all connect with each other. Schedule those one-on